Hello and welcome to John Boy's Radio and Electronics Workbench. We have here today a Stalker 15 or Stalker XV. It's a very interesting radio. I've been through this one. It came in as from an estate sale about a year ago. I recapped it for a guy and he took it and used it for a year. It had funny channels in it, and it was all these switches here were all butchered up on the inside, and it was just, I really didn't like it. So he brought it in. He wants to sell it. So I went ahead and tore this all out and redid all the switches, pulled all the funny channels out of it. And the only thing I'm going to leave is the unlock clarifier, which is fine. Most people want that anyway. So we're going to leave that in here. So I'd like to discuss some differences that this chassis has with some other ones. A lot of people will maybe be interested in this. So the circuit board that's used in here uses the MB8719 chassis. This radio came out about 1980. So very interesting that it had a mechanical clock in it, where the Cobra 2000, you know, it has a digital clock and a frequency counter. And the difference between this and the Cobra 2000 board is not a lot. This board here is actually closer to the Uniden Madison, with one major difference. This IF filter right here, this big IF filter, is 5 kilohertz wide instead of 3 kilohertz wide. The Cobra 148 GTLs, the Uniden Madison, and the Cobra 2000, the Grant XLs, the newer Grants, they all had a 3 kilohertz filter. They were all the same. This is one of the only ones I've seen that has the 5 kilohertz filter, and it makes the alignment procedure a little different. So if you go to the alignment procedure on the Madison, I have the Uniden Madison open here. You will note that another thing that's different is it has 2 crystals in the IF. In the 7.8 megacycle IF, it has 2 crystals because they couldn't get the one crystal to go 2.5 kilohertz on either side, so they used 2 kilohertz to get it. Now this has the Madison had 1 crystal in it, and you can see by the adjustment here for CT2, it's 7.8015 or 1500 megahertz on one side, and then the upper side is 1500 megahertz on the other side, which gives you a 3 kilohertz band pass. So if I pull up the real quick, I'll pull up the alignment procedure on this radio, and you can see that CT1 is 7.8025, so it's 2.5 kilohertz on the sideband lower and 2.5 kilohertz on the upper sideband. So this is the upper, this is the lower, and they have to have 2 crystals to do that. This is a very interesting difference. It makes the tonality of the radio sound way different on sideband, and a lot of people wanted that. I think a lot of these things draw some pretty good money because they are a little bit different. And that's kind of all I really wanted to talk about with this particular chassis. I'll probably think of some other stuff as we go through. I'm going to show you the modulation, and we'll put it on the air like I always do, and you'll have a listen to what it sounds like. Let's do the modulation for a check here. Get this thing going. I just went through this, put the mod limiter back in, and adjusted all the AMC and everything. You will note that it's really got nice modulation now, and it's 4 watts swinging to 16. Very good place for it to be on sideband. The 2-tone looks really nice as well. It does almost 18 watts on sideband. This is a really good radio. I really like it. So that's basically that part of it. We can do the spectral analysis while we're sitting here. Let me pull up the spectrum scope real quick. If I can get it in here. That one, and then we come down to here. There we go. Okay, on AM, everything's hooked up. I think all the stuff is set right. There's the spectral analysis. On this one, it's a little bit different than I've seen before. The second harmonic's a bit higher. I tuned it as low as I could get it for the trap. There's the peak table. Give you a real quick guesstimate of what's going on and all the interesting stuff that bounces around and all the spurious emissions that these had for their day. Other than that, I like it. I'm really happy with the way this came out. It's going to go up for sale here in the near future, and I really don't have a lot more for this chassis. All I can say is I banged my head against the wall on an intermittent fault today, and ended up being some loose screws in the shielding on the main board. As soon as I tightened it all up and got all the chassis tightened up, all that nonsense went away, and it just fell right into spec. So it was a crazy day for that. And then I spent another hour unbutchering the switches on the front panel. So here we go. Let's put this sucker on the air. You can get an idea what it sounds like. Let me get this antenna hooked up. Channel 19, pretty noisy this time of day. Let's go down to channel 6. You can see it has a treblier sound than the Cobra 2000. Cobra 2000 is a little bit bassier. And another thing this thing doesn't have that the other radios had is it doesn't have an SWR bridge, which is kind of a minus for some people. But they didn't include it. It does have modulation, 1 meter. So you have a switch here for modulation and signal. Got your ANL and your NB. Still has the PA, clarifier, mode switch, RF gain, white gain, squelch, and volume. All that's the same. Has an alarm. This is all mechanical. It still works. Amazing after 40 years that the clock still works. I don't think this radio had a lot of time on it. But it has been completely recapped. And let's go here. So guys down there in 17. Go down to the Super Bowl here. I just noticed that the tonality of it is different because of the difference in the filtering. I just don't think it has a side channel rejection that most do. I think the side channel rejection and various emissions are only about 60 because of that filter being so wide. But if there's a trade-off anytime you do that kind of thing. So let's go to sideband.
Painted a different way, get the real thin shaped like ham or whatever, and a little.
Yeah, I was gonna shoot a little bit more and show you guys me struggling with the switches. I had it all torn down. I decided against it. You guys really don't need to see me rewiring a switch, but take it from me. I rewired all these switches here, and they're ready to go. And the sideband just has a different tonality to it. I'm not sure if I like it more or less than the 2000, but it's really similar. I mean, the basic board design is the same. The filter is different, as I said before. Other than that, it's got the same transmit strip, same receive strip. some of the controls are moved around a little bit to accommodate the engineering for the Stalker 15, but it's still, this board was kind of a mainstay for a lot of different chassis. Everybody had their own way of putting them together, though. And yes, this is a funnyable radio. Like I said, I took the funnies out of it. No reason to have any of that now. And because you have to have a counter or a road map, and I didn't want to mess with that, so we just made her back to stock. We're going to sell it the way that as a collector. See, I just noticed that on sideband you hear a lot of hiss coming through, and that's because this crystal filter is so wide it brings in way more treble. You know, 5 kilohertz band is way wider than 3. 3 makes it narrower and it pulls out all of that treble that most people don't want to hear anyway. I'm sure this radio will make somebody a nice piece. Might end up on a shelf somewhere, but that's okay. So, it's kind of all I have for you today on this one. There we go. I think I see my big ugly mug now. Got everything up and running on this one. I think we're just going to leave it at that. We're going to put the cover back on it and stick it over on the burn-in bench and let it run for a couple of days before I list it. And I hope you enjoyed that little piece of history on this radio. And one of these days I'll make a video of me banging my head on the table trying to fix something crazy, which is a lot of the stuff that I usually get. I don't hardly ever get easy stuff. So this is John Boy's Radio Electronics Workbench. Thank you for watching. God bless. Hope you and yours have a great day, and we'll be seeing you on the next one. Bye now.